So how did we get the Bible we have today? And can you trust the words written by the New Testament authors 2,000 years ago are the same words you're reading today? First, the Bible was not some crazy telephone game whispered in the ear of somebody, an obscure message that was intended to, after 20 times of being passed around, come out wild and crazy. No. Much more deliberate and organized was the process of the New Testament authors and passing those to the early church fathers and on to us years later. You'd be glad to know that the New Testament authors were timely in their capturing of the events. Christ died in 33 AD, and the books of the Bible were written within the first century. I can give you 3 quick reasons why I believe that. The Jewish temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Luke was a meticulous physician who followed around Paul. Luke, in Acts and the Gospel of Luke, does not record the destruction of the Jewish temple in 70 AD. Why not? Probably because it hadn't happened yet. He wrote the books prior to the destruction of the Jewish temple. Paul actually quotes the book of Luke, and he writes 13 epistles that he's passed on to the churches, and he dies in 64 AD. So all those books have to be pushed further left on the timeline, closer and closer to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. We also have P52, which is a papyrus, a codex actually, written front and back from John 18. So the book of John, and we date this to the turn of the first century. So the book of John was being copied and circulated well within 60, 70 years of Christ's crucifixion. And that's pretty powerful, I think. Did you know we have 30,000 quotes from the early church fathers? They quote everything except for 11 verses in the New Testament. So hypothetically, we could put the entire New Testament back together with just their sermon notes. We also have 25,000 manuscripts in Greek, Latin, and other languages. If we stack those manuscripts up, the stack would reach a mile high. That's a lot of evidence. The evidence that New Testament scholars use when they go to translate a new Bible translation. So they're going back to the original Hebrew, Greek, and Latin to translate your Bibles today. We're not going from English that came from French, that came from Spanish, that came from Chinese, that came from Greek, that came from Latin. No. If they're going to do a new version of the CSB, they're going back to the original manuscripts in Greek, Hebrew, and Latin, and they're pulling that information from there. So you can rest assured that the words you're reading today are the words that were written 2,000 years ago. We also talked in our Bible study last Sunday about how the canon was formed, those 27 books. We talked about what did and did not happen at the Nicene Council. We also talked about some of the Gnostic Gospels that didn't make it into the Bible and why. And I think you'd be interested to research that yourself, as a matter of fact. If you've got any questions or comments, hit us up below, let us know. But this is how KWI rolls on the Bible study.